Okay, I have pasted the link again. Yeah, please do fill the attendance sheet. Awesome. We will start the class now. And to whomever who have not attended the previous class, in the previous class we were talking about the web fundamentals, like how what happens when you visit a web page, and what are the main parties involved in making a web request. Like when you are visiting a google.com, so what happens behind the screens, like not much into the details, but at least there is a client which is making a request, server which makes the response, and all those stuff. Can someone explain that for the audience, those who have attended the previous class? Anyone? Whatever you have understood, like give it in like a 2-minute talk. Can anyone? Amulya?
Hello.
Yes, Amulya.
Like what you exactly want me to explain them?
Whatever you have understood in the last class, like can you give a summary?
We know about the HTTP request.
Hmm?
Uh, like the for example, get, post, put, and delete.
Mhm.
Uh, Basically, the get method, which usually used to send a request to the server by the client, and it retrieves the data. And after, if we get the response from the server, uh, which is a post method,
Mhm.
and delete used to delete the resources.
Mhm. What did you say about the post request? Can you come again? Sorry, I lost you there.
Like the post method, uh, it's like it's the response from the client.
Okay.
Sorry, server.
Okay. So for the post request, the server will definitely respond, but there is a reason behind each and every method type, right? There is get, post, put, and delete. So get is to get the resource from the server.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we saw to-do app example, like creating a to-do. Like let's say you want to maintain a to-do list. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you're going to create a to-do list for buying some groceries for your home, maybe. Okay. So which means buy 1 kg of tomato, buy 1 kg of brinjal, something like that. Okay. So which means first you need to um, create this list, correct? So which
Yeah.
means it's a what kind of request?
For creating,
Yeah. For
it's a
creating.
get. uh,
Get is for getting. You already created something. Now you are getting it. That is get. Okay.
it's a post.
So for creating a post, now you have created the list, but you want to edit something in that. What will you do? What kind of request will? What kind of method will you use? What kind of HTTP method will you use for that?
Put.
Put, makes sense. Now you want to delete something. Obviously, you all know
Yeah,
it's
delete method.
okay. So these are all the main 4 HTTP methods we spoke about. Okay, and there is maybe I'll share the screen and we will talk with some diagrams so that it will be easy for you. Okay. Give me a second. So are you folks able to see my screen? I brought up some other things as well today so that we can go a little bit in depth, but not much confusing to you. We will try to cover one step at a time. Okay. So the idea of this whole course is like make you um, build a full stack application with all the clients, with all the HTML, CSS, the server side code in Node.js, and the database in MySQL and everything. Okay, so for that, first we need to understand the big picture, like how a request happens, what are the main components of the request, like whatever we spoke right now, right? HTTP, the status, I mean, the methods. We come back to the status codes as well, which is a most important thing. So all these big picture, once you understand, then you can target on each and every little items, like how to develop a web page using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and what is the client side part in it, what is the server side part in it, how the server communicates with the database and get the data. All those stuff we will be covering one class at a time. Okay. Now we will understand the whole big picture so that you know what is happening overall. Okay. So is that fine? Or everyone understood? Or if you have any questions now, you can ask me as well. Thanks, Amalia, for giving that summary. Yeah, that's your right. Thanks. Yeah. So last week we have discussed there is a request that goes from the client and there is a response that the server sends. And also there is a database it's there which serves the server as well. So in this part, let's start by asking some questions like because drive from here, right? I want to understand like up to what part you have understood, and you have any questions on top of this so that I can drive you from there. Okay. So which part you don't understand in this, like which part, like how does it happen? இது எப்படி நடக்குது இந்த விஷயம் மட்டும் எனக்கு புரியல இதுல, like something like that. Anyone? I think let's start with some new people today. So Akash, so far I have told spoke something. So what do you understand, and you have any questions? Like any question is fine. No, nothing is a basic question or not a good question or a bad question or something like that. You can ask any questions.
Yeah, okay. So can you hear my voice, sir?
Sorry?
So
Yeah, I
can
can
you?
hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So actually, last class I watched a video, but I have a little bit confusion that
Mhm.
in that workflow, usually the React in front end, right?
Yeah,
React sends the HTTP request to the Express server, and
correct.
the Express actually handles the response and request, right? And
Mhm.
it will, let's say if you're going to fetch the data from that, you're going to send a request to the by Express.js, and it's going to fetch the data from that MongoDB or MySQL.
Anything.
Then
Yeah,
then it's going to check the value of this, and it's going to fetch the data and going to return to the React. Okay.
correct.
So in this, what's the role played by the Node.js actually?
Awesome. Very good question, Akash. So Akash has asked why we need a Node.js server between the React.js application. Okay, so basically the React.js is a way to return HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to the browser, and Node.js handles all the requests and communicates with the database. So in this case, so let's say we like Akash says, we will remove this Node.js part. I mean, if imagine we don't have this Node.js server, so the browser, which is having the React.js code, is communicating directly with the database. So what are the problems here? Now, the first problem here is like now the browser has direct access to the database. Okay, the browser can communicate directly with the database, which is a security thing. Anybody can access the database now without any proper authentication or anything. Okay. Now, also, you need some kind of validation between the database and the client, which is wherever you are serving, wherever you are requesting some data from. So let's say in this case, I'm deleting data and all the stuff. In this case, let's say I'm creating data as well, like by X. Now, I need to validate this information. Let's say in this case, I'm creating a task and I'm sending this data. I need to validate if this data is correct or not. Where should I validate this data? So I need a person, or I need an application that validates this information. That is where the Node.js server comes into picture. So yeah, I think that is understandable. Does anyone have any question? Okay, is Node.js and Express same? No. Like kind of like Node.js is like a runtime for JavaScript. When I say runtime, when you open a browser, the browser will run the JavaScript for you. For example, if I see variable a is equal to 10 and put a, browser runs the JavaScript for me here. So this is a JavaScript variable like you do in C or Python. Browser runs the JavaScript for me. Now, same way, you want your server to run the JavaScript for you. Whenever I talk about server, it's a kind of a machine, right? The machine that lies in another place. Like that's what we call as cloud. Okay. So when you want your JavaScript to run in the server, you want a tool that makes it happen, right? That is what Node.js is. Okay. Inside the browser will take care of running the JavaScript for you. In the server, Node.js will take care of running the JavaScript for you. So, so I will show you a simple Node.js code. So this is again simple JavaScript. So this is handling. I'm connecting to the database here. Okay. Don't worry if you don't understand this, but ideally I'm giving you just a glimpse here. So here I'm connecting to the database, and I'm doing something to return JSON, and I'm creating a GET request here. So here you can see, right, /tasks. Whenever the browser requests with /tasks, go to the database, run the database query, take the response, and return it to the API. So that is what we are asking. So you can directly call this API. I can show you that. Go to the network tab. You can copy the URL and paste it. So now I'm not using React.js or anything, directly pasting the server URL. So when I say server URL, the server is running in localhost 5000. So the ports are the way to distinguish the applications from one to another. Like I have a React application which is running in this port 5173, and I have a Express.js application running in this server. So now I hit the server URL tasks, and it's a GET request, and I'm getting the post. Similar way, I cannot do a post request directly because I need to send payload and everything. We have a different tool for that. Either we need to use a React.js application, or a plain JavaScript, or some clients that do the HTTP request for us. Okay. And to answer your question, Amulya, so Express is a framework on top of Node.js. Like I said, Node.js is a way to run JavaScript on the server, and Express is a framework on top of Node.js. When I say framework, instead of writing a lot of code, it makes you write some less code. Like React is also a library, or they call it a library, it's not a framework, but React also makes you write less JavaScript in the client side. Okay, when I say client side, whatever you are seeing here in the browser. So the React is for client side and Express is for server side. Okay, both of them makes you write less JavaScript so that you can do your job faster. So ideally, we will be learning plain JavaScript initially. Then on top of that, we will learn other things. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Amulya? You can
Yes,
ask.
sir.
Yeah. All right then. Okay. So yeah. So this part will be a little bit confusing for you, like how since we have introduced React.js initially, right? It will be a little confusing for you. So ideally, you don't need React.js. So the thing is, like I said, React.js is a normal library that makes you write less JavaScript, and you can see the library for web and native interfaces. But plain JavaScript is what the browser understands. Okay, so whatever React.js do, end of the day, it returns plain JavaScript only. Okay. If you see the network tab as well, you can't see React.js here. You only see CSS, JS, fonts, image, and everything which browser understands. The browser understands only JavaScript, not React.js. So React.js makes the job easy for the developers to write JavaScript, and also once you write the application, it will be converted to plain JavaScript for you. Then it will be served to the browser. If you see, everything will be in the JS extension. So yeah. Yeah, I will move to the next thing here. And To give a summary, we have discussed about request, response, and browser, how browser responds with HTML, CSS, image, and all those things. Like this is a small diagram that explains this. And your web document can contain so many things, like what are all the elements a web page can have. Like by seeing this diagram itself, you can see someone.
Images, videos.
Images, videos. What else?
Then texts.
Correct. Text.
Links.
Links. Exactly. Very good, Pawan. Yeah. So all these things, or web page, we have all these things: images, PDFs, links, videos, all those stuff. So all this stuff, I have given you an example, right? Like all this stuff resides inside HTML document. Now, a HTML document is similar to a Word document or a PDF document, but a kind of format that browser understands. Okay, like if you want to open a PDF file, which software will you use?
Microsoft Edge or Google.
You open it in browser. Okay, can someone say like Adobe Acrobat or something like that to open a PDF? Yes, you can open it in the browser, but ideally you will open it in a PDF viewer. Can I call it a PDF viewer or something like that? Or if you're opening, let's say you're opening a dot XLS format or XLX format, which software you will use?
Microsoft Excel.
Microsoft Excel.
Awesome. Like .html files will be opened by the browser. The only difference is like that HTML file is not in your system. It's in the server. It's in another machine. That is where the HTTP protocol comes into picture. So you need to make a HTTP request with some headers. Headers is the extra information you give to the server. And then the header will respond with the HTTP response, and you will get your you will get your web page. This HTML file will contain all the contents you have told me, images, videos, and all those stuff. This will be served from the server, and there can be different types of server, like I said, right? So initially I have differentiated the React.js server from the Node.js server. So in our case, the React.js app can be run in a different server that will return only the HTML and CSS. Then the request will be made to the Node.js server like that. Only the HTML, CSS, and the images will be served from one web server. Video will be served from another web server. And the advertisements which are shown, right? You might have seen ads, like even if you go to W3 schools, the famous websites that all people learn to code. So if I open this website and go to, I don't know, HTML something, I see an advertisement here, right? This is the advertisement. If I click that, it will take me to some advertisement page. Okay, all these things will be served from, might be served from ad server. Okay. It can be served from one single server. Like I said, your React.js application and Express, everything can run in one server, and then Express can return that HTML to the client, or the React.js application can run in a separate server. Similar way, the video server can run in a separate way, and the ad server can run in a separate server and still serve the request for you. Okay, but the initial HTML file will be served from your web server. Anybody have any doubt in this? I have told so many things, some confusing things as well. So,
Sir, the video server ad server
so what Pawan is asking is like, why video server and ad server are like separate? Is that the question, Pawan? From web server?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's say on a big billion day, who everybody knows what is a big billion day, right? In Amazon, I believe in Amazon or Flipkart. I don't remember which. Flipkart, I believe, in big billion day. Flipkart or Amazon, something. So there are so many requests. Like let's say you will be there is a server. So the same server. Now this is a machine, right? This is a normal computer. It's have a CPU and it has a RAM. Okay. Now let's say we have a RAM of 8 GB and a CPU. It's some kind of Intel Xenon or some processor, server-based processor. Okay. Now, so there will be so many clients who are accessing this. Like I don't know. There will be at some point of time on a big billion day get like I don't know, like 2 lakh requests. So all these 2 lakh requests will be processed by this server and served to the client. So everybody in the whole India is trying to buy something. And let's say Amazon is running a sale and everybody is trying to access this server. So what happens? Any guess? 1 billion.
Server busy ஆயிடும்.
Server becomes busy. What does it mean by server becomes busy?
Cannot handle many requests.
Awesome. It cannot handle many requests. Okay, what happens when it cannot handle many requests?
Server down.
It's like crash ஆயிடும்.
Server will go down. Yeah, it will crash. So what you're saying is like each and every request will take some part of the CPU power, like CPU power or RAM, right? It utilizes the RAM, and at one point of time, the server can't handle more and more requests, and it will crash. Okay. So when it crash, it can't serve more requests. So instead, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to take this server. I'm going to take this part, copy this, put it here, put it here, put it here, and I'm going to create a clone of all these servers. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is like going to place some guy called load balancer here. What will this load balancer do? Any guess?
Distribute
There's
the
request of
requests for
reaching
different
it.
servers.
Awesome, great. So this load balancer will distribute the request across different servers, right? Now, there are so many servers that can handle this request and the server won't go down. Even this server goes down, this will take care. This server goes down, this will take care, right? So similar way, now we are segregating the responsibility here. So this is one way to handle the request. Now, similar way, we are segregating the responsibility here. Like this web server will take care of handling only the HTML and CSS and JavaScript for you. And another servers will take care of serving the video server, but so that this server won't get the whole load. Okay. So the video server load, this might be having like, this is a different CPU. Like this will be having some, I don't know, 64 GB of RAM. But I don't need so much memory for serving like HTML and CSS. So I'll have only 8 GB RAM here. Ad server might have a different configuration. Okay. Does that make sense, Pawan?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any doubts in this? No doubts so far? All right then. Yeah. So now you know there is a web server sitting on the other side, which is what we call as data center or server farm, something like that. Okay, like big companies like Google, Facebook, they have something called server farm. It's like a big acres and acres of land. They will have all these servers, which will be serving requests for you because these websites receive lots and lots of loads, right? Now, coming back to the components of all these things. So one important thing is like the URI part, the uniform resource identifier. So one of the when I say uniform resource identifier, it's identifying a resource. That is why that name. Don't confuse with the with terminologies. So in that we have all these components. One is the protocol, whether you are using HTTP or HTTPS. Now, what is the difference? HTTP is a plain text protocol, HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which the request will be sent in plain text like this. Okay, all your payload and everything will be sent in plain text. If a person intercepts your request, let's say a hacker sits between your client and API. If a hacker sees this request, now this hacker can intercept the request and see the request. Okay, intercept and see the request. See your request. Now, how to stop this? Any guess? So even this hacker intercept and see your request, the person should not see anything in that. It should not make sense anything. What should I do?
Encrypt பண்ணி
Making the connection secure.
Did someone say encrypt?
yes sir.
Awesome. That's the answer. So you need to encrypt it. Okay. So that is where HTTPS comes in. So you can call it as secure here. Okay. So where can I see this? If I click this, does it say connection is secure? Now, if I go to my localhost server, does it say connect this connection is this? The connection to this site is not secure. Why?
நம்ம எதுவும் என்கிரிப்ட் பண்ணல சார், செக்யூர் பண்ணல.
Exactly. We are not encrypting it. Okay. It's not a HTTPS request. It's a HTTP request. If I put a HTTP yes:// here, it will break. But if I change it to HTTP, it will work again. So we need to do some extra things to make it as HTTPS. Let's not talk about that. Okay. We can have a separate class for that once you get all the basics. Okay. So now we have a domain and we have a port. So like I said, port is you have one domain, but you want to serve multiple items. Like once, like I said, you have a video server, you have an ad server, and you have a web server. I want to run the web server in port 80, which is a default port for serving web applications. Okay. If you don't see any port number here, it is served via port 80. Okay. Just keep that in mind. And if you add a port number, you can serve something else. Let's say I have added port 5000. My Node.js server is running in port 5000. I have added port 5173. My React application is served from port 5173 here. Okay. So apart from that, there is another path. So this is similar to what you see in our server /tasks. So now I have said this is my server address. I want to say what I want to get. So which resource I want to get tasks. So that is what I'm saying here. This is the path. Okay. On top of that, there are something called query params where you can pass some extra information in that. So don't sweat much on it now. We can come back to this later. This is like some extra information you are giving. Okay. Any doubts in this? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, awesome. Now, so this is how a plain HTTP request looks like I have previously shown. So if you refresh the page and go to all, this is asking for HTML file. We will come back to the status codes again, and if you see this is HTTP request. These are the request headers. It says accept text and HTML, which means I want text and HTML. That is what browser is asking the server. These are the ways browser asks to the browser request the server. This type of contents I want. I want text and HTML, and I want it to be zipped because it will compress the file and send it back to you. You don't need to worry about this for now. And this is my host address, which is like this is where I am sending the request from. That is what the browser is telling. All those things sent, and the server has responded. These are the response headers. Okay, so these are just the information, but the actual response is here. So this is what the server has sent. Okay, great. So that is what I have given as a small example here. Like the server is asking for a GET request. It's a HTTP request, and HTTP has versions as well. So we are using HTTP 1.1. There is HTTP 2 as well now, which some other features. Okay. Anyone wants again a small introduction to HTTP, or I can proceed with it? Like, if anyone say yes, I can tell about HTTP again. Anyone?
Yes, sir. One more time.
So HTTP, is anyone joining now? Okay. So HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's a way for the browser to communicate with the server. Like it's a list of rules that the browser need to follow to communicate to the server. Okay. So when I say list of rules, when it is trying to get a request, so this is how the request should look like. It should send these headers. Like in this case, it wants a HTML document. It need to send text/HTML. If it wants some other thing, it need to send like let's say a CSS request. Where is CSS here? Yeah, app.css. Now, so it's takes slash or maybe we'll take some other thing. Yeah, in this case, it says image, accept image, which means I want an image. So this is my first requested format. If it doesn't have, if you don't have this one, send me this. If you don't have this one, send me this. Else you can send whatever you want. So that is what it is saying. So you can tell the priority, like this is my priority first. I want the image AVIF format. If you don't have that format, send me WebP. If you don't have that format, send it this. So these kind of rules you set for browser to communicating with the server is HTTP. Okay, so ideally it's the language that the browser speaks with the server to get things done, which means get a web page or get JSON data, get an image, get a video. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So who frames all these rules? Like we have different types of browsers, and each and every browser has to follow these rules. And how does each and every browser? Tomorrow, let's say you are developing a browser on your own. Like from where will you get all these rules? Last class we spoke about this. Does anyone have remember?
Rest, you told.
Can you be a bit loud? Who's that?
About the rest, you told it's a standard one where they can set the set of rules for these HTTP.
Correct. So there are two important standards. One is like IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force. Okay. So these people set all the rules related to all the protocols, what we are talking, HTTP, TCP, and all those. So TCP is another underlying protocol to HTTP, right? So all these protocol rules are set by this group. Okay. And there is another group called W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. So this particular group set the standards for all the languages in the browser, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all the SVGs, all those stuff, which we are requesting and getting it from the browser, right? So how a HTML document looks like, if you go to the elements and see the HTML document, you have a div, class, and all those stuff, right? So how do all browser vendors know, like when they see a div, they need to render something, and when they see a button, they need to render something. When I hover on the button, they need to show. All these rules, right, are set by this W3C group, and the browsers which are being developed should follow these rules. Okay, because whenever you say button in HTML, it renders a button in all the browsers, right? It doesn't render a drop down or a checkbox in another browser. When you say button, it always renders a button. So because all the browsers follow the standards which are set by these groups, which is W3C or the Internet Engineering Task Force and Internet Engineering Task Force. Okay. Any doubt so far? We will move to the status code next. Before that, if you have any doubts. Did I hear someone? I'm not getting any questions from the new people as well. Who has joined? Akos has asked question. Atmika? Did
No,
you
sir.
understand?
No, any doubts?
Okay, no questions so far. Saria?
No question, sir. All clear.
Okay, you are good. Is it easy for you folks to follow? Like, forget about this server client. We will come. We will, because there are so many things going on with this the React.js, the Node.js server, and the database things. We can have another class as well to make you understand these things. But you don't need to understand in depth on this now, because anyways we are going to cover that. So for now, try to get the big picture: the request response, what is HTTP, and what are the get, post, put, and delete, and what is a URI. You understood all these things. There is HTTP request and HTTP response, all those stuff. Okay, and these load balancer, all those things are bonus things. You don't need to understand these right now. At least you know what is happening behind the hood, right? It's totally fine. Now coming back to the status codes, like so what are status codes? Like, any idea? So far we have seen this. What is this?
A status of the request sent by the client.
Correct. So which means you have something called status code whenever I send a request. Status of the request. Correct. What can happen when I send a request? Anyone? So I have sent a request. What are the possibilities?
It may reach to the server or it may not reach to the server due to some
Correct. So
issues in the internet.
sorry.
Like due to some issues, it may not reach to the server. So that if we have the status code, means client will get to know whether the request sent is actually received or not.
Correct. Exactly. So which means my internet connection might be down and the request might not go, and or the server might be down and the URL might be wrong, or I'm sending a post payload here. So I'm sending completed title. Instead of title, I give a spelling mistake and the server is expecting a title. I'm sending tile. So then it's a mistake as well, right? So all these things might happen. So the browser need to know what happened in the server, right? So that it can show some proper error to the user, because to show error to the user, the browser need to know what happened. So that is where the status codes comes in. So we have all these important set of status codes. When it say 1x, you have sent a request and the server is processing the request. So when I say 1xx, that is 101 and so on. And we have 2xx status codes, which are success codes, which means the server successfully received the code. And mostly for get request, you will get this. But for post request, when I create something, let's say I'm creating something here, you can see it's 201. Okay, which means a resource has been created. So that's why we have put 2xx here. There is 201, 202, something like that. So each status codes can imply a different meaning. So the homework for your next class is like, for each 1xx, 2xx, at least 3 status codes. You should take it as an example, and you need to come and tell me, or you can put it in the Discord group. This particular status codes does this, something like that. It's better if you can put it in the Discord. Yeah. And 3x's are redirection codes. Let's say you requested for some resource, but it has moved to another URL. But as a user, I know this URL only. Let's say w3schools.com is there, but somehow this address doesn't serve W3 school content. Instead, they have changed the URL or something like that. But I know only W3 schools, because the whole users of W3 skills only know this URL. But behind the scenes, this URL is not serving your content, what happens is like they have moved the content to different server with a different URL. Okay, that is where this 3xx comes in, which means it's a like your request has been redirected to another server, but you will get your content. Still, you will get your content, but it is from another server. But also, it can say it has been redirected and says like there is another web page that says for something has happened and we will be serving you later, something like that. Okay, so it's like you requested for a URL, it doesn't exist, but it has redirect to some other server. And 4xx is like then now the client has made some issue. Like I said, instead of sending title, I have sent tile. Now the server is expecting for title. When I say server is expecting for title, I can show you clearly in the post request. So what is this insert that's doing? Like this SQL query is taking the title from the request and inserting it here. You can, I think you can debug it. I'll show you. For some reason, the debugger is not working, but ideally you can see this request, request.body here. So if I put a console log here, I know it's getting late, but I will try to finish this faster. I have started the server. Now I have put a console log. Whenever you do a post request, you will see some message here. Okay, so I'm going to so task.title is by potato and it is false. Okay, now it is it is getting the title and completed from the client. So let's say when I'm trying to access task.title, my client, which is from the browser, it is not sending it in task.title. Instead, it is sending it from TITLE. I mean TILE, so tile or something like that. Now this is a error from the client. Okay. Now you will get a 4xx code for this bad request or something like this. So when you search for bad request status code, it says 400. Code that indicates the server could not process the request due to a client error. The client has made the error. Okay. Now 5xx is like the server is down, might be. You might have seen this so many places, like when the server is down. The same example we took for Big Billion Day, right? So in that particular case, the server will be down. You will get a 5xx error. There are so many types of errors. So that is what. Important status codes of 4xx also involves your authentication. If your login is failed, you will get 401, and you are trying to access an unauthorized resource, you'll get 402, something like that. So all these status codes implies, each and every status code implies a meaning behind it. Okay, I think I will close it here. I will do a hard stop here. If you have any question, ask me. We will finish in 2 minutes because it's already a very long class for you. Any questions?
சார் ஹோம்ஒர்க் அந்த ஸ்டேட்டஸ் கோட் பத்தி என்ன சார், அத பத்தி படிச்சுட்டு டிஸ்கார்ட்ல போஸ்ட்.
Yeah, so for each and every status code, for 1xx, let's say I want you to give me examples for 101, 102, 103, 201, 202, 203, 301 and the madri. Purida, is it understood for everyone? Like,
Yes, sir.
Status codes. You can use this Mozilla Developer Network. So if you go to this informational response, now you can see 100 is continue, 101 is switching protocols, 102 is processing. Similar way, I go to 4xx, 400 is bad request, 401 is unauthorized. Can anyone tell me what is unauthorized?
Like usernames, password mismatch and the மாதிரி.
Correct, exactly. It is unauthorized. Okay, similar way, 404 not found. I think you have seen this a lot, which means you are trying to access something which is not there in the server at all. Server la okay, you are trying to access it. Okay. Yeah. Similar way, I want you to do for all these request types, 5 request types. All good. And Akash, did you get your answer, or if you are still confused, maybe we can take it out of the class and I can explain you like why should we have a Node.js server between the React application. I can explain
No
you.
issues, I'll try my best to learn it to myself. If I had any doubts, I'll try.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thank
you. If there is any question, I can close the. I will close the class now. Thank you. I will stop the recording.